Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're stepping way back in time, thousands of years actually, to a place where history isn't just written down, it's literally carved into the earth. Try and picture this. You're standing on a rugged hill in Bhubaneswar, that's in Odisha, eastern India. Feel that warm, sort of humid air. As you breathe it in, you almost get this sense, this weight of centuries settling around you. And if you look closer, you see these ancient rock-cut caves. But they're not just, holes in the rock. There's something much more profound.
Yeah, absolutely. They aren't just ruins or remnants. Think of them more like living archives.
Yeah.
Places where the stone itself seems to speak to you, where history feels tangible, alive. It gives you this incredible connection to people, to their beliefs from thousands of years ago. Every mark, every figure, it tells a story.
And that's really what this deep dive is about. We're taking all the sources you've gathered, articles, research notes, and we're going to unpack the stories held within these amazing rock formations. Our subject today, the Khandagiri and Udayagiri caves. They're this incredible pair of ancient rock-cut complexes right next to each other in Bhubaneswar.
Exactly. And our mission really is to pull out the most important insights, the key nuggets of knowledge from all that material. Think of it as your guide to really grasping why these sites are just so significant, historically, culturally, spiritually, all of it. We'll dig into some surprising facts, look at the rich history they represent. Hopefully you'll come away with a really vivid picture of this remarkable heritage.
Yeah, we'll explore where they came from, look at the sheer architectural skill involved, and really delve into their cultural weight. And we'll also touch on how they still matter today, which might surprise you. By the end, you should have a really clear, deep understanding way beyond just the basic facts. It's pretty awe-inspiring stuff. Okay, let's start by setting the scene properly. 1, setting the scene, where stone and spirit converge. Right, so let's really try and visualize this landscape. Picture yourself back on that hillside. It's part of the Eastern Ghats Range, rising up above the modern city of Bhubaneswar. And this setting, it's not just a pretty backdrop, is it? The natural environment itself is key to the whole feel of the place.
Oh, absolutely fundamental. The rock itself, this reddish laterite, is typical of the area. And crucially, it was soft enough for ancient people to carve, but also durable enough to last for, well, millennia.
So the geology itself kind of dictated the location?
In many ways, yes. The natural formations, the accessible slopes, the workable stone, it was almost like an ideal canvas waiting for them. And when you stand there, you really do feel that weight of time, the warm air, this sense of timelessness. It's palpable. Choosing a hillside, carving directly into the rock, that says a lot about the early monastic way of life, doesn't it?
What do you mean exactly?
Well, it suggests this deep desire for solitude, for connection with nature, away from distractions, and also for a dwelling that would endure, something permanent, carved into the earth itself. It wasn't just practical, it was symbolic, grounding their spiritual lives in the physical world. And yeah, if you listen closely in the quiet spots, you can almost imagine hearing the echoes of Jain monks chanting.
Wow, that sounds incredibly atmospheric, like stepping into another world entirely. And these caves, as you said, they're much more than just ruins. What was their core purpose? How do they function?
Right, they're definitely not just ruins. Their identity is layered. At the most basic level, they were dwellings, spiritual homes for Jain monks, offering shelter, obviously, but also a secluded space, a place designed for meditation, for ascetic practices. Think of them like ancient monasteries, but instead of being built up, they were carved out of the living rock, tailor-made for contemplation, renunciation.
But also historical archives, you mentioned.
Yes, absolutely vital ones. The sculpted walls hold these incredibly rich narratives. We're talking stories of conquests, military victories, but also deep religious devotion and amazing artistic skill. And if you zoom out a bit, see the bigger picture, these caves aren't just isolated dots on a map. They're crucial threads in a larger tapestry. They preserve these whispers, as the sources put it, of Odisha's glorious past. They're primary sources, literally set in stone. Sometimes offering insights that written texts just can't capture in the same vivid way. It's a visual, almost tactile connection to that past.
That idea of a visual narrative carved in stone is so powerful. It makes you see them not just as buildings, but as living history, living art, a spiritual legacy that's still present. It really speaks to human creativity and dedication.
Okay, so stepping back from that immediate presence, what actually sparked their creation? Where did these incredible structures come from? 2. The genesis of grandeur.
Yeah.
King Kharavela and the Jain influence. Let's pin down the time frame. We're talking over 2,000 years ago, right? specifically the 1st century BCE.
That's the period, 1st century BCE, a really dynamic time in ancient India. You had various kingdoms rising, falling. The whole landscape was shifting after the Mauryan Empire. And right at the heart of the story of these caves is a truly key figure, King Kharavela. He was one of the most famous rulers of ancient Kalinga, that's basically modern-day Odisha.
So this wasn't just any king then? No, far from it. And Kalinga, under Kharavela, wasn't just some minor regional power. It was a major player, politically and economically. When we say Odisha flourished as a powerful kingdom under him, it really means a period of comprehensive growth and strength. Think about the economy. Kalinga was perfectly placed on ancient trade routes, both land and sea, connecting it across the subcontinent and even to Southeast Asia.
Right, so that would have brought in wealth.
Immense wealth, likely. You'd see thriving markets, specialized crafts, strong agriculture. And politically, Kharavela consolidated power. He created a stable, effective administration. His reign saw significant military victories, too, expanding Kalinga's influence. This shows a strong central authority. And you absolutely need that kind of stability, that kind of resource base to undertake huge projects like carving these cave complexes. It requires planning, manpower, a long-term vision.
And culturally.
Culturally, it implies an environment where the arts, philosophy, spiritual life were actively supported, likely by the king himself and the elite. It was, thriving civilization really hitting its stride.
And a big part of that cultural flourishing was Jainism, wasn't it? The sources really emphasize the deep influence of Jain philosophy on Kharavela's kingdom. What does that actually tell us about the values of the time, especially considering he was also this powerful military leader? Seems like a bit of a contrast.
That's a really fascinating aspect, isn't it?
Okay.
It shows the complex relationship between royal power and spiritual beliefs in ancient India. The strong Jain influence suggests that core values like ahimsa, nonviolence, but also asceticism, self-control, the pursuit of enlightenment, these were highly respected, even by the ruling class. Now, for a king like Kharavela, known for his military campaigns, to then actively commission these caves specifically for Jain monks, that's significant. He's providing them physical refuge, yes, but also a dedicated spiritual haven for meditation and quite rigorous ascetic practices.
So it wasn't just a symbolic gesture?
No, not at all. This was a major investment.
Yeah.
Years of work, significant resources poured into the spiritual infrastructure of his kingdom. It clearly shows his personal devotion, perhaps, but also likely reflects a broader respect for Jain ideals within Kalinga society at the time. It suggests there was a well-established, influential Jain community there, one that commanded royal support. And yeah, that mix of military strength and deep spiritual patronage makes Kharavela a really unique and compelling figure.
Incredibly insightful. And we actually have a direct voice from that past telling us about all this, don't we? That famous Hathi Gumpha inscription.
Ah, yes. The Hathi Gumpha, literally the elephant cave inscription. It's absolutely pivotal. It's not just some carvings. It's a really detailed account.
No.
It's inscribed in the Prakrit language, using the ancient Brahmi script right there on the main facade of the Hathi Gumpha cave itself. This isn't someone writing about him later. This is Kharavela's own account, speaking across the centuries.
What kind of details does it give?
It's remarkably specific. It narrates the king's victories, detailing his military campaigns, listing kingdoms he defeated, mentioning how he expanded Kalinga's power from the Godavari River right up to the Ganga. For instance, it even talks about campaigns against Magadha and how he brought back a revered Jain statue that had been taken centuries before. So it shows both his military might and his religious commitment. It also meticulously lists his charitable acts, things like donations to Brahmins and Jains, building water tanks, other public works, showing his benevolence. And crucially, it details his patronage of Jainism. It gives concrete evidence of his support for the monks, including the actual construction and decoration of these very caves, even mentioning expenditures and efforts involved.
Wow. So it's basically like an ancient royal CV carved into a cliff face, but with receipts.
Something like that. And that's why it's so incredibly valuable. This inscription is genuinely one of the earliest known records of Indian history that gives such a full chronological account of one ruler's reign. Its importance for historians is just immense. It gives us this direct, unfiltered window into the kingdom's grandeur. Before inscriptions like this were deciphered, much of this period was kind of hazy, known only through later texts that often mixed myth with fact. So this provides solid ground. Exactly. The Hathi Gumpha inscription lets historians piece together a much clearer, more vivid picture of ancient Kalinga, its society, its politics, military stuff, religious life. It gives us an unparalleled insight into Kharavela's own thinking, his ambitions, his faith, the way his administration worked. We get names, places, dates, events, that tangible connection to the past, which is so rare from this early era. It helps verify other accounts and gives unique details about the political geography and cultural interactions of the time.
Okay, so putting it all together, we're not just looking at some caves commissioned by a king. We're seeing a foundational moment in Indian history, documented by the ruler himself, rooted in deep spiritual belief, showcasing this extraordinary mix of power, art, and faith.
All right, so from the why and the who, let's really get into the what, the incredible artistry within these structures themselves. 3, architectural marvels. Art carved into nature. It's worth saying again, these are not merely shelters. They are works of art carved into nature. It's just an astonishing achievement, especially when you think about the tools they had back then over 2,000 years ago. It really is astonishing. The scale, the precision. Khandagiri has 15 caves. Udayagiri has 18. That's 33 distinct rock-cut structures in this one twin complex. Just imagine the sheer manpower, the planning, the artistic vision needed. Each one carved meticulously by hand. It shows an incredible level of skill and dedication. The process itself would have been painstaking, choosing the right rock face, roughing out the shape, and carefully chiseling away, often from the top down, to create the facades, the chambers, the detailed sculptures.
And each cave showcases this artistic brilliance, not just in the overall structure, but in the tiny details, too.
Absolutely. These weren't just functional monk cells. They were designed to inspire, maybe even to educate, transforming raw rock into living stories. In a way, they served as visual scriptures, telling moral tales, historical events, religious ideas to people who might not have been literate.
And among those 33 caves, some are particularly famous, right? Each telling its own story in stone. Let's talk about a few, maybe starting with the Rani Gumpha, the Queen's Cave. Sounds important.
The Rani Gumpha is definitely the most distinguished, and for very good reasons. It's not just a single cave, it's actually a two-storied monastery complex, designed to house quite a few monks, which tells you something about the size and activity of the monastic community. The architecture is complex cells arranged around a central courtyard, verandas, and these incredibly carved facades.
And the carvings are the main event there.
Oh yes, its real standout feature is the sheer amount and quality of the ornamentation. It's adorned with intricate carvings depicting royal processions, celestial beings, dancers, musicians, and elephants. And this isn't just random decoration. It's like a vibrant panorama of life in ancient Kalinga. You can almost see a royal procession unfold, maybe the king on an elephant or chariot, his entourage, soldiers, attendants, all shown with amazing detail in their clothes and even expressions. Then you have celestial beings, yakas and yakshinis, symbolizing divine presence, good fortune, often shown in these graceful, dynamic poses.
So it's not purely religious imagery, it's like historical snapshots as well.
Precisely. That's what makes Rani Gumpha so special. It uniquely captures the essence of life in King Kharavela's court. You can visualize the pomp and ceremony, the king processing, elephants decked out. You see courtly entertainment, dancers, musicians, their movements frozen in stone. The celestial figures hint at the spiritual beliefs interwoven with daily life and royalty. It's a visual story that goes beyond just facts. It gives you this tangible, almost imaginative feel for the daily life, the entertainment, the beliefs, the social structure of that time. You stand there and you can almost imagine the sounds and colors that went with these scenes. It's storytelling on a grand scale, etched forever in rock.
That's incredible. The level of detail sounds stunning. Okay, what about the Ganesha Gumpha? What's its defining feature?
The Ganesha Gumpha, named for a Ganesha figure added much later, actually is instantly recognizable by its original entrance feature. These magnificent elephant sculptures flank the entrance. And they aren't just simple outlines, they're powerful, quite lifelike depictions, often conveying a sense of movement or majesty. Now, this isn't just for looks, it's highly symbolic. Elephants in ancient Indian culture are revered. They symbolize strength and wisdom, but also royalty, good luck. Having them guard the entrance to a monastery would suggest protection, stability, wisdom, maybe welcoming or guiding those entering. It shows how deeply rooted animal symbolism was in their beliefs, linking physical traits to spiritual virtues. The cave also has narrative panels inside, showing Jain stories, reinforcing its spiritual function.
And then there's the Ananta Gumpha. What makes that one unique?
The Ananta Gumpha, though maybe smaller, is notable for some unusual decorative choices. It showcases carvings of athletes and geese. Now, this might seem less grand than Rani Gumpha, but what it shows is the incredible detailed storytelling that artists of the time could achieve through stone, even on a smaller scale. The athletes are shown in various dynamic poses, maybe wrestling or other ancient sports. It's a rare glimpse into secular life alongside all the religious themes.
Man, the geese.
The geese, or hamsas, are interesting too. In Indian mythology, they often represent purity, wisdom, the soul's journey. Seeing them carved with such delicate precision really speaks to the craftsman's skill. It highlights their ability to capture movement, natural forms, specific human activities, symbolic creatures. It shows a really versatile narrative skill, turning static stone into dynamic scenes from the world around them, including everyday animals or pursuits. It suggests a holistic view, where both sacred and secular life could be represented in art.
So each cave really is like a captured moment, a piece of history preserved, offering these diverse insights.
Totally. When you look at the combined effect of all this artistry, it's clear that each cave holds a piece of history, silent, yet speaking volumes. These details aren't just extras, they are primary sources, like pages from an ancient visual encyclopedia. They often give richer, more nuanced insights into the culture, society, daily life than written texts alone can provide. A text might tell you about a procession, but these carvings show you. You grasp the visual richness, the atmosphere, in a way words struggle to convey. You see details of clothing, jewelry, musical instruments, even facial expressions. They're invaluable for understanding artistic styles, religious symbols, daily customs of ancient Kalinga, a vivid, tangible link to a civilization that thrived millennia ago. It's a profound testament to that human drive to tell stories and leave a lasting mark.
It really is like this amazing open-air art gallery that's also a history book. Okay, so moving from the physical structures and their stories, let's talk more about their deeper cultural and spiritual impact, which clearly continues. 4. Cultural and spiritual significance. A living legacy. Yeah, it's clear these caves are way more than just archaeological sites. They feel deeply embedded in Odisha's cultural and spiritual landscape, like a living part of the place.
That's a really important point. Odisha's profound connection to Jainism isn't just something in the history books, it's a living heritage. It still resonates today. And Khandagiri especially serves as this lasting testament to that connection. It's a physical embodiment of centuries of faith, devotion, and the spread of Jain ideas in the region. Even now, Odisha has a significant Jain community, and these caves are still revered sites for them. They symbolize the deep roots of Jainism in the state, showing how a philosophy can shape the identity of a place and its people over vast stretches of time. They remind us that Kharavela's patronage has a legacy that continues to inspire.
And it's not just about history, is it? People still come today, not just as tourists, but as part of a living tradition. What about the pilgrimage aspect, the experience for visitors now?
You're spot on. Today, these caves draw a real mix of people. You get devout pilgrims connecting with their spiritual past, you get meticulous historians trying to decode the past, and you get curious tourists wanting to see ancient India firsthand. They all come for different reasons, but they gather here to immerse themselves in an environment where faith, history, and nature converge.
What's that experience like for them?
Well, for Jain pilgrims, it's sacred. A direct link to the monks who walk these paths, meditated in these rooms. They might pray, meditate, or just sit quietly, feeling that continuity. For historians, it's like a living textbook. Seeing the inscriptions, the architecture brings their research to life. For tourists, it's often a breathtaking encounter with antiquity, exploring this unique rock-cut style. But what seems to strike everyone, regardless of their background, is the tranquil ambiance. It really does offer this sense of peace. It allows visitors to kind of step back and contemplate, perhaps in a way similar to how the monks did centuries ago. You can enter these quiet, cool chambers, escape the noise of the modern world, and almost feel a connection across time, that shared human need for introspection, understanding, a moment of quiet reflection. It's a rare chance to literally walk in the footsteps of ancient seekers and find a similar kind of quiet.
That sounds incredibly powerful, a really meditative experience. And Khandagiri has something extra too, doesn't it? The view from the top.
Absolutely. Beyond the caves themselves, the hilltop offers a breathtaking panoramic view of Bhubaneswar. And this isn't just a nice photo opportunity, it really adds to the experience, especially if you're seeking that sense of serenity and reflection. From up there, you look out over the modern city sprawling below the buildings, the traffic feeding into the distance. It gives you a unique perspective.
How so?
Well, that wide view lets you see the continuity of human presence, from the ancient monks' retreats right beneath you to the bustling city stretching out. It kind of prompts you to think about time, about change, about what endures. That physical elevation can really enhance the mental or spiritual one. It provides a sense of detachment, a broader view, maybe similar to how the monks felt looking down from their solitary spots. It really turns the site from just a collection of caves into a complete sanctuary, where history, spirituality, and nature all weave together beautifully. offering historical insight, but also space for personal reflection.
So what we're seeing is that these caves aren't just relics. They're active parts of Odisha's identity today, a living source for spiritual seekers, history lovers, travelers. Okay, so from that enduring context, let's shift to think about their relevance right now in our modern world. 5. Echoes in the present. Relevance and preservation today. It's quite something to think that, though the days of King Kharavela and the wandering Jain monks have passed, these caves are still standing, still here. It really underscores that Khandagiri remains an invaluable part of Odisha's identity.
Absolutely. And because it's so invaluable, preserving it is crucial. That's where the Archaeological Survey of India, the ASI, comes in. They play a vital role. They recognize these caves as an important heritage site, nationally important. That means they're actively working to ensure their preservation for generations to come. And it's not easy work. Ancient rock-cut sites face constant threats: natural weathering, erosion from rain and wind, biological growth like moss or lichen that can damage the carvings.
And human impact, too, presumably.
Definitely. Even just casual touching over time adds up, not to mention more careless actions. So the ASI's work involves careful conservation. That means regular cleaning, sometimes structural reinforcements to prevent collapses, meticulously documenting the carvings, and managing visitor flow to minimize wear. Their efforts are absolutely essential. Without them, these unique windows into the past would just slowly degrade and be lost. It's a continuous, vital job of protecting shared human heritage, really for the whole world.
And the appeal of these caves today goes beyond just the scholars and the pilgrims, right? It seems to attract a much wider crowd now.
It really does. Today, Khandagiri isn't just a place for scholars and history enthusiasts. Its appeal is much broader. You get adventurers drawn by the landscape, the excitement of exploring ancient caves. You get photographers capturing the beauty, the details, the way light plays inside. And you still get spiritual seekers alike, finding peace and inspiration in the atmosphere and history.
So they have a kind of universal draw.
I think so. It seems that whether you visit for academic curiosity or simple admiration, the caves leave an imprint on every traveler's heart. It taps into something fundamental, doesn't it? Our curiosity about the past, how others lived, finding beauty and meaning in things made long ago. The experience often goes beyond just looking, becomes a moment of reflection, of wonder.
And for the local people in Odisha itself, what does Khandagiri represent for them today?
For locals, it's definitely more than just a tourist attraction. It's a really potent symbol of Odisha's enduring legacy. It's a tangible, everyday reminder of the artistic and philosophical richness that once thrived here. It's a source of great pride, a direct connection to their ancestors, to that golden age under Kharavela. It grounds their present identity in this remarkable past, constantly reinforcing their cultural heritage.
So that really brings us to a key question for you, the listener, as we start to wrap this up. Why should you care about places like Khandagiri and Udayagiri, especially if you might never visit in person?
Well, I think understanding sites like these helps us appreciate the incredible depth of diversity of human history. It shows how ideas, how beliefs, how spiritual traditions can persist for thousands of years. It showcases the amazing ingenuity and artistry of people long ago who could literally shape mountains into intricate art. And it reminds us that history isn't just about kings and dates. It's about people, their lives, their art, their faith, their spirit. And those things still resonate, still inform our world today.
Beautifully put. So even across millennia, these silent stones keep speaking, keep inspiring, and keep anchoring a vibrant culture in its incredibly rich history. Outro. And that brings us to the end of today's deep dive into the Khandagiri and Udayagiri caves. We've journeyed from their ancient origins with King Kharavela, looked at their stunning architecture, explored their deep cultural and spiritual roots in Jainism, and considered why they still matter so much today. It's been a fascinating look at how these apparently silent structures truly do speak volumes about an ancient civilization, teaching us so much about human creativity, skill, and enduring faith.
It really is a powerful thought, isn't it? Those monks who carved these caves, dedicating themselves to simplicity, reflection, they sought enlightenment in that quiet stone refuge. And it makes you wonder, in our own world, which is so complex, so busy, so full of noise, what echoes of their ascetic quest might be valuable for us to listen for today? As we navigate our own lives, maybe there are moments of intentional stillness or deep reflection, or even simple acts of simplification that can help us find our own forms of understanding and peace. much like they saw it centuries ago within those very walls.
That's a really thought-provoking question to leave things on, one definitely worth mulling over. We hope this exploration has sparked your curiosity, deepened your appreciation for ancient history, and maybe even inspired you to explore further through more reading, imagining, or perhaps one day actually standing on that hill in Pubanazor yourself to experience these magnificent caves. Until next time, keep exploring, keep discovering.